It's another travel day and I just got here to Manila, took the early flight from Bohol. We're on our way to Iloilo. So I'm on my way to go visit Lobi. She's in Iloilo doing a project there. I want to go hang out with her obviously and go explore Iloilo. The biggest problem though when you're traveling around the Philippines is that it's not super easy to get around when you're going from island to island. One of the best things about traveling around the Philippines is actually all the really cool places and things you can do all around the country. For example, you could go surfing in Siargao, diving in Bohol, island hopping around Palawan, or just on the beach getting the sunsets in Boracay. The biggest problem though is it's tricky to get around to all these places, especially if you're on a budget or you're just strapped for time and don't have that much time here in the Philippines. So take for example my flight today. I've been here already for my second meal. I had to fly out super early from Bohol, and then my layover was 4.5 hours before my flight connecting to Iloilo. That's a really long time to spend, and if you're only here in the Philippines for say a week or so, spending a whole day just flying to your next destination, not exactly how you want to be spending your vacation. But even with that being said, I still highly recommend you travel around the Philippines and check out a lot of different islands. I'm finally checking in and we're boarding our second flight. I'm on to Iloilo. So when I get there, I'm gonna go over some of my top tips to help you travel, save some money, and save some time when you're traveling around the Philippines. Okay, see you in a bit. Oh, and after a long day, it's nice to lay down. So I made it to Iloilo City. Been here about 24 hours. Pretty awesome place. I've already had some really good food and coffee. Right now I'm down at the riverside. This is the Riverside Esplanade. It's a walkway boardwalk that goes down the river, which is pretty cool. But I wanted to do my top tips for traveling around the Philippines to save yourself some time and money and just make it an easier trip. Number one is going to be plan your trip in a circle. What I mean by that is instead of going from Manila to a place back to Manila and then to another place back to Manila, see if you can plan your route based on where the flights fly. So maybe you want to go from Manila to Siargao, to Cebu, to Bohol, to Dumaguete and then back, or from Bohol to El Nido, Palawan, and then back to Manila. You can sort of do a round trip instead of having to do multiple flights. Okay, I need to get out of the sun. It's pretty hot. Let's sit in the shade. So tip number 2 is going to be, don't forget about the small airlines. We have the big 3, which is AirAsia, Cebu Pacific, and Philippine Airlines. But you also have some smaller ones like, I believe it's called Skyjet, Air Swift, Air One. All of these flights are within the Philippines going to destinations that the big carriers may not go to. And that could save you a lot of money. Maybe it's a little bit more than what it looks like to fly one way to Manila, but it saves you all that time. It also saves you on getting to the airport and the 2 flights. So definitely take a look. You never know, it might be able to save you some money and help you on making that circle of a trip. Okay, tip number 3 is to beware of the terminals and transfers when you're in Manila. you may have to go through Manila to get to where you want to go, and that's fine. But once you're there, there are 3 or 4 different terminals. All of them have different carriers. So if you are planning to go through Manila, stick with the same carrier. You'll stay at the same terminal and avoid having to take a taxi or wait for a bus that does the transfers that may or may not come. You never know. There is no real schedule that I've seen. Okay, tip number 4, don't forget that Cebu is also a hub. Cebu flies internationally, obviously, but also has a lot of destinations within the Philippines. So if you find yourself in the Visayas, it may be easier for you to just go to Cebu and get your flight from there. So tip number 5 is going to be stay at each place a little bit longer. Maybe your plan was to stay at 5 different places for 3 nights each for 15 days. You could split it up and do 3 different places for 5 nights each. That way you get to explore more of each place that you're going to. So my last and final tip is to take ferries, especially if you're in the Visayas. It's very easy to get around by ferry. For example, Cebu to Bohol, Dumaguete, Siquijor, Camigan, and also ferries can get you down into Mindanao, Surigao, Leyte. A lot of different places you can go by ferry, and that'll just make it easier than having to travel a lot by air. So those are my tips for getting around the Philippines. Definitely come and check out all the amazing places that the Philippines has. Don't let the transportation discourage you, especially if it might be a little bit easier at some of the other destinations. It's well worth it to come here to the Philippines. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you have an awesome day. See you next time. Bye.